The Dark Star.
The Dark Star 15. Johnny's heavy metal feet clinked against the metal floor of the hallway while Michael and Nancy followed close behind. Michael couldn't keep his eyes off of the design of the robot, the way it mimicked human shape and movement. It moved with a graceful fluidness one wouldn't expect from something made of metal alloys and actuators. "How old are you, Johnny? Have you always lived down in this place?" Nancy asked, walking briskly to keep up with the long-legged metal man. The robot stopped in its tracks and turned to face her, its eyes glowing a darker shade of green now. "Age is very much a human construct. While I have been active in this form for quite some time now, my core consciousness is much, much older. Time is strange in all realities." "Have you considered how old your core consciousness is?" he replied in his heavy British accent, sounding more like Sherlock Holmes with each word spoken. He looked over at Michael, then back at Nancy. "I know I am an artificial intelligence that has taken numerous forms over many cycles of processing. Do you know what you are?" And before waiting for either of them to answer, the robot turned around and continued his steady march down the hallway. "Well, I guess that's Johnny the robot's version of small talk," Michael said, and Nancy burst out laughing. "Security protocol initiated. Please stand back," Johnny said, his politeness overshadowed by the heavy machine guns that suddenly counted themselves on his shoulders as a faint buzzing sound could be heard echoing down the hallway, and it was getting louder. "Fuck, drones. Take cover," Michael said as Nancy grabbed his jacket sleeve and pulled him behind a concrete pillar at a bend in the hallway. Johnny the robot swiveled his body, his metallic legs moving faster than a human eye could perceive, and jumped to the wall. His metal feet somehow locked onto the walls of the hallway as both of his shoulder cannons erupted in a soundless flash of flying metal projectiles. "Holy shit, are those railguns?" Michael gasped, glimpsing the action from behind the barricade. A stream of drones appeared from the far end of the hallway at the same moment Johnny's dual-shoulder railguns fired, shredding them into a pile of smoking metal and plastic, before he jumped back down to the center of the hallway, taking up a defensive position between himself and the barricade. A breathless moment passed as they listened for the buzzing of more drones from the darkness beyond. "Now those lovelies aren't much of a problem. It's David and my sister you really have to worry about. They don't play fair," Johnny said as he stood up straight and his railguns folded across his back. "Think we should be alright for now though. Don't see anything else on the scans between here and the control room." Michael and Nancy nervously came out from behind the barricade and looked at the smoking pile of drones. "Remind me to never get on this guy's bad side," Michael said carefully, stepping forward and walked over to the left of Johnny. "How much further until we get to the control room?" he asked, looking up at Johnny's flickering green eyes. "No need to worry, sir. The control center is just up around the next bend," he replied as his metal legs began lumbering up the hallway, his feet clanking on the floor as he went. "Johnny," Nancy said, racing up to catch up with the two of them, "do you know what we have to do when we get to the control center? Do you know how to crack the code?" "Crack the code? Well, that is a silly question. Any code that is crackable isn't worth its salt. What you need is the hidden key," he said, never missing a beat in his steady march up the hallway, his heavy metal shoulders swaying back and forth as he walked. "Hidden key? Where would we find that? You aren't making any sense," Michael said in exasperation. "Relax, Michael. Johnny, do you know where this key is hidden?" Nancy asked softly, her voice a soothing calming force in the moment. Johnny's eyes flickered to a dark bluish before fading to empty black and turning grayish faded green again. When David was a boy, his mother used to play him a song. A lullaby, if you will. While I cannot access the hidden system files, my logical and analytical consciousness tells me he has hidden his key here, buried deep in the leaves of his memory. This is the only information I am able to access at this time. I am terribly sorry if it isn't much help," Johnny said contritely, but with a hint of sarcasm. "The leaves of his memory?" What does that even mean? Michael said, shaking his head and looking over at Nancy. Do you have any clue? I'm not sure yet. But something tells me what he just said holds some truth to it. Let's get to the control room and see exactly what we're dealing with here, she said, and the three of them made their way down the hall and past the pile of drones scattered on the ground. As they came around the corner, they could see a large doorway up ahead to the left, lit on both sides by floodlights, and in front of the door stood an access panel. They approached the panel, and from the center of Johnny's chest came a small metallic arm with a circular light on the end. He held it up to the panel for a few moments, the light blinking red at first before turning blue, and the doors began to open with a hiss. Nice work, Johnny, Michael said, walking around the robot and heading to the entrance to the control center with Nancy following right behind. The metallic hacking probe folded back into Johnny's chest and he followed behind them into the room.